Hare Krishna, welcome.
Hare Krishna.
Is anyone here for the first time to Hare Krishna Valley? Very good. Thank you for coming. Oh, good. Thank you for coming. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll just ask if anyone has any questions they would like to ask a member of the Hare Krishna movement about the meaning of life, the universe, or anything else. Then we can try to answer your questions and give some understanding to the practice of Krishna consciousness. Does anyone have any questions? I was speaking to a few people before, they said they had some questions they'd like to ask. Any other questions? Anyone else today? Yes, madam.
I suppose one of the biggest questions I have constantly is how do you reconcile any type of spiritual practice with the more material and mundane lives that most of us do live? It seems like the bulk of our lives in truth are made up of making a living, and then this portion of our lives devoted to maybe some form of spirituality. So is that enough to say that we're living righteously, or?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, in this day and age, the age that we're in now is called the Kali Yuga. You've heard of that term before? You understand, yeah. So, Yuga means time. Yuga means like a block of time. So in the Vedic literatures, the ancient literatures from India, which we follow, our teachings are from, it describes that time in this universe is measured in millions of years. These days, science, or the modern faculties of knowledge, the modern universities and so forth, they teach us history going back fairly accurately for about 3,000 years. So we go back about 3,000 years, but after that, it becomes very obscure. Even going into that becomes quite obscure. But the Vedic literatures, they speak of things which happened millions of years ago, a long time ago. And they say that this material world, the universe we're in, is governed by 4 ages. So just like in 1 year, we have 4 seasons in the West. We have winter, summer, spring, autumn. So they come cyclically. Every year there's a cycle, 4 will come. So in terms of the universe, it's described that there are 4 yugas or ages which we pass through in a cyclic way. Satya, Treta, Dwapara and Kali Yuga. So the yuga that we're in now is called Kali. What does this word mean? Anyone knows from India, in Hindi or Sanskrit? Or what does Kali?
Like ignorance.
Ignorance, yeah. Yeah, it means dark. Yeah, quite often we say black. Kali. Kali means dark, black. So we're in the dark age. Kali Yuga ki?
Joy.
His age is dark. It's a dark age. So it's called the Iron Age, or the age of material advancement and development. In this age, people are more concerned and involved in using their energy for material progress, as opposed to spiritual progress. In the previous age, Satya Yuga, which is the first age, it's called the Golden Age, people were more concerned with spiritual progress. Material progress was a secondary activity, whereas these days material progress is the primary activity, and the spiritual progress is almost non-existent in some places. So just like you see now, at this point in history, right? So next year we're having the American presidential elections, which are extremely important for all of us, right?
Oh yeah.
Very important. In some senses they are, but I mean really, in Australia we have an election that doesn't go on for, I mean these things go on in America, they go on for years. It's about 2 years of campaigning just before you actually get to decide even who's going to run. Then they take it way too seriously. And the problem is that the people who are running are speaking mainly about material situations. And particularly one particular person, whose name starts with T, Mr. Trump. It's all material. Everything he says is just, you don't hear him say anything about spirituality. You don't see him say anything about spiritual upliftment or how his citizens, I mean, what is the real problem in the world these days? What is the real problem with America? The real problem is there's a vacuum of spirituality within society. That's why people are disconnected. That's why they're unhappy. But who's addressing that? Just like I saw the other day, I was on Facebook, and someone posted there was one guy in America, he was a black man, and he went to Donald Trump's rally. You know, they have the rally, Donald Trump comes to speak, so he's out the front before Donald Trump arrived, and all the people are there, and he had a sign saying free hugs. You might have seen this on the internet, it's quite funny. So he walked around everyone in the crowd with your sign free hugs, right? And in the Donald Trump rally, no one wanted to hug him. And they're all saying, you know, what are you doing? You know, this is, you know, and it was very like antagonistic. It wasn't a peaceful, close, warm mood. And then after that, he goes to the Bernie Sanders rally. And it's the same thing. You know, a black man walks in, he's got a sign saying free hugs. People start coming up and hugging him, and it's nice. So at least we can say, comparatively, I'd say Bernie Sanders is a more grounded person because the people he's attracting are more grounded, but still, he's not speaking enough about spirituality. He thinks that if he just solves the economic problems and the social problems and all these things, the world will be peaceful, but that's not actually the answer. That's part of the answer. Economics is part of society. Social problems are part of society, but the main thing which is lacking in the world is a spiritual basis. So we're in this dark age. It's called Kali Yuga. It means it's a dark time where spirituality becomes less and less prominent within society. So what happens is, because that is the social structure or the mood of society, then the people in society, which is us, or more yourselves, I'm a little bit removed because of my vocation, but those of you who are more in society, then the way society is structured and set up, you're pressured to act, and the main drive of life is economics. You have to work hard, and they push you harder and harder and harder. For what? For what? Like that. And what's it leading to? Is everyone happy? Is society becoming more peaceful and more happy? You have to work harder. Does that make you happy? Of course it'll make you happy. You'll have more money at the end of the week. You've got no time to enjoy it, but you'll be happy. It's ridiculous. So what are the real necessities of life? What do we really need? Prabhupada, who's the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, you see him sitting on the seat of honor, his picture is there. He left this world in 1977. He said there are only two things that we need materially in this world, basically. Right? We need food and shelter. You need a place to sleep at night, so it's not too cold or too hot or whatever, and you need food. And then we can say water and clothes, but that's all within that category. So basically we need these basic necessities. So you don't have to work in all of these artificial occupations to get food and to get shelter. Yeah. I mean, the world had these things for thousands of years without having to work the way that we're working now, just to get the same thing, food and shelter. Just like Prabhupada, he was in India in, I think it was around about 1974, and he was in Surat. Surat is in Gujarat. You know Gujarat? Where are you from? Which part of India?
I'm from Chennai.
Ah, you're down south. Okay, so over in Gujarat, in Surat. So Prabhupada was walking in the morning, and the fields were full of tobacco. And Prabhupada said, okay, why? Why? They grow tobacco? Prabhupada said, well, they explained, well, Prabhupada, they grow the tobacco, and they ship it thousands of miles away and sell it, and they get money, and the money is sent back to them, so then they can buy food. And Prabhupada said, what? He said, all this land, you can just grow food for free. Eat the food, you don't have to get tobacco and then go there to bring it back to you. Not necessary. So we had everything we needed for thousands of years, basic necessities, food and shelter. But now we have to work so hard to get the same things. When America was founded, around 250 years ago, I've said this before, 97% of the population were farmers. Now, less than 1% are farmers in America. Now we have all these really important occupations for everyone, like IT, civil engineer. All of these different occupations. It's so necessary. So necessary. We definitely need lots of IT workers on the planet. Right? That is the number one thing we need. Because that will make society completely peaceful. And so this is the way we're going. We have these artificial occupations. We have so much land on the planet. And then I was listening on the radio the other day. I was driving to Melbourne. And they were speaking about there's now a gridlock traffic situation in Melbourne, which has developed all over the world now in all the big cities. We have a playroom in the back. If you want to take the kids there, you can also take them. You can still hear everything in the backside. So we have a gridlock situation in Melbourne. They have this also in London. London's also become like a gridlock now. You have to pay to bring your car into central London now because there's so much traffic. So then on the radio, they were saying, well, Melbourne's becoming like that now. It's just becoming like a gridlock, the traffic situation. If you ever go there in peak hour, it's not very pleasant. That's why George has a motorbike, so he can go up the middle. So there was a problem there. So one man rang in. He wasn't a Hare Krishna, but he rang in and he said, well, why don't we just decentralize everything? Why do we have to have one CBD? Why don't we just put everyone like in different places, and then you don't have to have some. And then the radio presenter is like, oh, well, that's logical, you know. But he said it's not very practical. Why isn't it practical? What's the problem? So this is the way we have an artificial civilization. We have artificial needs, and then everyone is caught up within that civilization to get money, and then we're almost trapped in a circumstance, and then everyone becomes depressed, anxious, and they develop all these mental problems. And people are not happy. And the fibre of human society is being taken out. So, this is the situation. So what we're trying to do as the Hare Krishna movement, and others like us, we're trying to bring the spiritual focus back into society. So I was the same as you. I grew up in Melbourne, right? And at the age of 19, I saw the way my parents were. My father ran his own business. My mother also was a successful businesswoman. She worked for someone else. And, you know, we had it. But I just looked into the future and I thought, I'm 19 now. Do I want to become like that? Do I want to just follow that path, that trap, and go into that situation? So I became a spiritual person. I became a monk. So for 8 years I lived in an ashram as a monk. Then I got married and then I moved out. But still I have like a spiritual vocation, a balance within my life. So the Hare Krishna movement, we're trying to teach people to have more of a balance. And it is difficult because we talk about it, but then if you're going to participate in this world, it is difficult. So Prabhupada, who was the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, his vision, because we do need to work in this world, we need to do things, was to do natural things, like run vegetarian restaurants and those kind of things. And we see now in the Hare Krishna movement, there's many vegetarian restaurants opening around. If you go up to Brisbane, between the Sunshine Coast and Byron Bay, which is probably about 300 kilometres drive, there's now 14 Hare Krishna restaurants in that. Right? And then the Hare Krishna people, they can go and work there, they can make a living, but they're doing something which is in line with their value system. So I think you need to open a Hare Krishna restaurant down at Frankston.
A lot of good people down there.
Yeah, people will come, no problem. We'll supply the cooks. You guys just manage. You know. When you get a location, you speak to us. And you work in hospitality.
You 12, 10 years in hospitality.
Yeah, so you can run it with your eyes closed. Yeah, I'll give you the cooks. You can run the place, and then you have something which has and still make money, and you can have a value system. So these are the kind of things we need to think about. That's the kind of things we need to think about. Otherwise, you're just caught up in a trap. You work in a job that you really don't like. You know, you're with people all day. I mean, we're with the Hare Krishna people all day. We like these people. These are good people. These are nice people. I can put up with these people. But if I go out there, I mean, the kind of conversations you get and what people speak about in your workplace and so on, it's not so palatable. It doesn't have meaning. And after some time, you think, what are we talking about? You know, do I really care if Collingwood won yesterday? You know, how much did they lose by? I went around to my mother's place yesterday. My mother lives in Torquay. I went to my mother's place and my niece was there. And I walked in, she goes, did Collingwood win? I said, how do I know Indy? Like, as if I don't follow the AFL, how do I know? Like that. And it was on the news, they were watching the news and they lost by a certain amount. And they're like, oh no, it's like that. Who cares? It's just a couple of guys running around in shorts with a blown up piece of leather. You don't take it seriously. You don't base your whole life. Some people do. Yeah. So does that give some clarity?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I was speaking to you earlier also about how I'm not sure if it's just me, but I think these people in general is what I'm sensing, is they're embarrassed to talk about their spiritual needs. Because so many people are comfortable with talking about their physical needs or even emotional, mental needs to the appropriate people. But I think there's such a void in society as to who to go to talk to about your spiritual needs, or even if there was such a person, there's a kind of shame or embarrassment about talking about these things, because I think it's because it doesn't fit within the paradigm of science. And when it doesn't do that, it's inconvenient for most people to accept that it's real.
Yeah. Yeah, because the modern world is based upon atheism. And of course they will not describe it like that, but actually it is. It's by atheism. If you look at the word, it's Latin. So theos, what does theos mean in Latin? God, yeah, it means something higher. Thea means like something, like theology. We're talking about a higher concept. Yeah, something, it's a higher dimension. Right? So ultimately we're talking in the modern world we say God. Right? So it's a higher, we say Krishna, we don't say God, but we say Krishna. But that's what we mean, and there's Krishna there. We're talking about a higher entity. So you don't hear about that. Like in these American presidential elections, I'm not hearing anyone say anything about something higher. Yeah, let's say in God we trust. It says on the dollar bill in America, in God we trust, but no one speaks about it. I mean, Obama does go to church on the weekend, that's good. That's good. So there is some theology there, but it's not emphasized. And when you are disconnected, this is the point. This is why we have problems in ourself and in society, because we're disconnected from our source. And when you become disconnected from your source, how do you feel? Right? Just like, how do you feel as a child being disconnected from your parents? Right? Because in this modern world, many of us are disconnected by our parents. It's becoming more and more common. When you're disconnected from your parent, how do you feel? Right? You feel like there's an emptiness inside. Right? Now, who's the original parent? Yeah, Krishna. He's the original. So when you're disconnected from him, naturally you're going to feel empty. Naturally. But this is not being identified. People are not understanding this is the problem. And when we become reconnected to Krishna, again, we feel whole within our consciousness. And quite often people say to us, to the Hare Krishna people, oh, you look so happy. What's our secret? Right? And some people say it's the turmeric in the food. You put turmeric in it. It's the yellow stuff. Right? I've heard people say to me over the years that don't eat the Hare Krishna food because the yellow stuff, it's a drug that controls your mind. Right? It's just turmeric. They said no, everything's yellow. It controls your mind. Some drug they put in there, and then you follow the whole thing. No, it's not that at all. So what is our secret? Right? Is it turmeric? Right? To a degree, yes, because turmeric's coming from God and it's natural. And it's very good. I mean, if I go into turmeric, I can give a 1-hour lecture on turmeric, the benefits of turmeric. It comes from Krishna. That's why we put it in all the food. It's anti-radical, right? It's a blood purifier, right? If you cut yourself, you put turmeric on your cut. If you have this is a bit of advice. If you have a serious cut, ever, you put turmeric on me. What's the word? Yeah,
coagulant.
Coagulant. It's a natural coagulant for the blood. Naturally, like people I've seen with serious, I haven't seen, but I've heard serious injuries. They put turmeric on, just brings the whole thing together. So it has many potencies. So if we have Krishna in our life, this one point, this will solve our problems. When the soul, because we are the soul, this is Krishna's first teaching in the Gita. You are Jivatma. You are the soul. The body and the mind is just an external covering, which is covering your soul. In the Gita, Krishna calls this yantra. Yantra means machine. The body is just a machine. It's like your car. Now you have a Toyota or a Holden or a BMW or Mercedes or whatever you drive. It's just a machine, a yantra. You are the driver of the machine. Without you, the machine does nothing. The machine just sits there. You are the life which gives life to the machine. You can use that machine for good things or bad things. That is your choice. That is up to you. So we are the soul, and the body is just the covering, the mind is just the covering, and we are connected to Krishna. When we are connected to Krishna, our source, our Father, we become happy because it is a meaningful relationship. But when you're disconnected, you will always feel empty. So that is the basic secret of life, to reconnect, and that is called Bhakti Yoga. Yoga means, these days people think yoga means physical exercise. The word yoga means union, connection, to unite, to connect. Bhakti means with love or devotion. So when you connect to Krishna with love or devotion, you automatically feel peaceful, happy. Ananda means bliss. But if you're not connected to Krishna, you'll always feel empty, no matter what you have. Materially, you can have all the things in the world materially. You hear all the rich people, they've always got problems. And they feel very empty. And then when you have too much, because Krishna says within the Ishopanishad, we must live according to the Ishavasya principle. The Ishavasya principle means that you can have as much as you need to keep your body and soul together. If you have more than what you need, then what will take place? Yeah, you'll become anxious because you're always thinking about all these extra things that I need or I want. But when you just have enough, like we have enough, I have a car, I have a house, I have, clothes, and I have everything that everyone has. But we just keep it at a medium level. Not too less that you're in anxiety, but not too much that you're in anxiety either. Just keep it mediocre. And if you have excess wealth, right, then give it to spread Krishna consciousness or spiritual life, right? To help spiritual life go. Like this farm costs a lot of money to run this farm. I tell people all the time, people come here and they think, oh, it's so nice here, and it costs a lot of money to run this place. It's not cheap, just because the way the world is these days, it's not cheap. So we say to people, if you have extra money, if you're wealthy, that's good. You're wealthy, use that money for a good cause to spread spirituality throughout the world. So then if we're connected to Krishna, then you become happy. Right? And if you're not connected, then you'll be always anxious, yes. Welcome to the world of Kunta. Spiritual world in Sanskrit is called Vaikunta. What does Vaikunta means? No anxiety. What is this world called? Kunta. What do we call Parkville? Kunta means anxiety. In other words, this world you will get anxiety. In the spiritual world there is no anxiety because you're with Krishna. But in this world you have to be anxious. Or if you live in this world but you are conscious of Krishna, you will feel peace and happiness as much as is possible. So, is that okay?
Yeah.
Would you like to add anything else? Or?
Well, I'm just wondering if you know much about if there's been any progress on the scientific front with researching metaphysical subjects.
Yeah, Prabhupada, the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, in the last 2 years he was with us, between 1975 and 1977, he placed a great deal of emphasis on setting up the Bhaktivedanta Institute, which is a spiritually scientific community which tries to marry the physical and the metaphysical sciences. So we have many books on these subject matters about marrying the two. So yeah, there has been. Are you a scientist yourself? Or?
Have I, what, sorry?
You're a scientist? Or?
No, I'm not. My dad is.
Your dad's a
PhD
scientist.
in chemical engineering, but he's very spiritual as well.
Yeah.
No, I have an arts background.
Okay.
Probably shows.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have a scientific division within the Hare Krishna movement. And in Mayapur, which is our world headquarters near Calcutta, that's where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's Krishna in this age in the Kali Yuga, he's in the center on the altar. At his appearance place, which is about 100 miles north of Calcutta, on the Ganges, we're building the temple of the Vedic Planetarium, which is the biggest Hindu temple on the earth. We're building that there at the moment.
It's a planetarium.
It's a planetarium, yeah, but it's a Vedic planetarium, which will be the first of its kind in the world. And if you go into the back room there, the kids' room, you'll see there's a picture of the building, what it will look like when it's complete on the wall. So we're building that at the moment, and the idea of that, Prabhupada was emphasizing that he wanted to be able to show the people of the earth the way the universe is situated from the Vedic perspective, and give them a spirit, not just the material world, but elevating to the spiritual dimension itself, the kingdom of God. So through science, we can understand and we can analyze all these things so that we get to this final understanding. This world is just a temporary place, which we're meant to be. It's temporary. We're meant to elevate ourselves to the spiritual world, the spiritual dimension. So we have a scientific division which does concentrate on that and showing us and teaching us how to go from one to the other. How that the source of matter is spirit. Prabhupada, there's a book in our shop, it's called Life Comes from Life. That's a science book, you can get that one if you want. It's just a little one. So life comes from life. So the basic premise of the basic teaching is that matter does not come from anything but life. If there's no life within the matter is just dull, dead, inert substance. Like my body, right? I'm animate at the moment. Why? Because the soul, the Atma, is present. But if my Atma steps out of my body, what happens? I'm just dead. That's what we say, that's death. So Krishna says, Dehinosmin yata dehi kaumaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptiya dhiras tatram namuyati. Krishna says in the Gita that your body changes from boyhood to youth to old age. Kaumaram, yovanam, jara. Right? We all go through this cycle. We're young and then we gradually get old. But the soul remains the same. We're the same person, even though our body is completely different. According to science, every 7 years, every cell in your body changes. Right? So I'm 46 now. So that means, what's that, 7 times? Nearly 7 times, 6 times. All my cells have changed, but I'm still the same person. I don't have the same body I had 7 years ago. There's not one cell in it which is the same. Except some people argue the brain cells do not regenerate, but there's different opinions on that. Basically, every cell has changed, but I'm the same person. That is reincarnation. That's changing bodies. I don't have the same body that I had 7 years ago. So I'm changing body, but the soul is the same. So Krishna says at the end of life, what we call death, that is just a change of body. You reincarnate. In Latin, the word karna means flesh. Reincarnation means to change flesh, means to change into another body. Krishna says one who is dhira. What does dhira mean? Dhira means one who is wise. He's not bewildered. And when someone dies, he's not bewildered. He understands. The soul has just moved on. But in ignorance, the people in this world, when someone dies, they become completely disturbed. They don't understand. No, the soul has moved on. That's the reality. So this is spiritual life. So yeah, there's a spiritual institute within our. We have some of our books in the shop from that spiritual institute. You can look at that. So. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Very good.
Learning a lot about stuff, sorry.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm still
Yeah.
into it. You mentioned earlier that this is like a dark age.
Yeah.
Alright, so in a way we're becoming more materialistic in ways, but not so much as spiritualism. Do you believe, just out of interest, that unfortunately that this world and these people that we are and future generations will lose grasp of more of their spiritualism and become more materialistic to the point where religion spiritualism will eventually be, in a way, phased out, or it will just become a more materialistic, unfortunately sad lifestyle?
Yeah, it's a good question. According to the Vedic literatures, these ancient teachings from India, it speaks about the cycle which goes on perpetually. It goes on and on and on. Because it's just, this material cycle goes on over millions of years, and society is very evolved spiritually in the past, but it's becoming devolving at the moment spiritually. They talk about evolution. We don't believe in evolution, we believe in creationism. We're creationists. Supreme entity created. We don't believe it took, 1 million years or 1 billion years for a microbe to come out onto the earth and turn into a monkey and then give birth to a human. That's one way of looking at things. We don't subscribe to that. So this cycle goes on again and again and again. And at the moment we're in the Kali Yuga, which means the dark age, where people become more and more materialistic. That's the nature of this age we're in. However, it says that there is a 10,000 year golden period within this age, and we're inside that golden period now. So there's a renaissance of spirituality within this dark age. That's happening right now, and you see around the world, it is happening. There's a devolution taking place because people are becoming more and more materialistic as science develops, especially as technology develops. Just like these days, this basically rules everything. That's the Bible, really, at this point in time. Whenever you see kids these days, it's like, like that. And so imagine what Earth's going to be like in another 50 years. We'll probably just I don't even know how it's all going to go, but it's just, but people are becoming disconnected from themselves. So there's a devolution of, through technology and through science and so forth, and through consciousness, people are going down. But simultaneously, there's an evolution taking place. So each one of us has free will that's given to us by Krishna. So we have to choose which way we want to go. And I'm choosing to go spiritually as opposed to materially. So if you take advantage of the spiritual opportunities which are being offered at this point in history and time, we can evolve our consciousness. And we see many people are. And we can see many people on the earth are actually evolving spiritually, right, as we speak. There's like a whole movement taking place. But simultaneously, there's materialism is just getting greater and greater momentum simultaneously. So it's almost like there's a dichotomy on the planet. So we have to make our choice. And eventually, for more people to become spiritually inclined, people really, not generally, not always, but people really generally only become spiritually serious when there's tragedy. It's just the reality. Unfortunately, that's the reality. When it all hits the fan, they become serious. That's when they go in there and say, oh, why is this happening? So that there will be, in the future, there will be calamity on the planet. I mean, it's already happening. We can see it's all falling apart in front of us. But it becomes serious. When that happens, I don't know. Whether it's 10 years from now, whether it's 1 month from now, or whether it's tomorrow, or whether it's 100 years from now, I'm not sure. But when that really happens, that's when people will really get spiritual again. I was in 1996, I was in Tasmania, when they had the shootings.
Port Arthur, no?
Yeah, Port Arthur. I was there, in Tassie, not in Port Arthur, but I was in, I think I was in Launceston when it took place. So, oh no, I think it was in Hobart. So I was in Hobart, and then I was selling Hare Krishna books on the street. And, I was fairly successful. Every day I'd sell, 30 or 60 books every day. People were interested. I'd say, are you from Hobart or from somewhere else? And they'd say, I'm from Hobart. And I'd say, I'm giving you this book, and give them the book and speak a bit, and then I get a donation. So, I was selling quite a few books. But the day after the massacre, I was just selling books were just flying out of the box. I'd bring a box onto the street, about 30 books in the box, bring them out. Everyone was practically, oh, what are you talking about? Yeah, what's this about? So everyone was so shaken. It's like books just going, man. So unfortunately, when everything becomes difficult, people really get serious. And that's just the unfortunate reality. And I sold a book to a lady who was in the cafe when everyone got... She was hiding behind the counter. She was physically in the... She saw the whole thing. She just said, whatever you got, I'll buy it. Whatever you got, just give me some clarity right now. I sold a book to the doctor who had to do the autopsy on everyone who was brought in. I think it's 37 people. I can't remember what the... But he had to, go through all the bullet holes and everything. So he was very sober at the time. So he brought something off me. And a few other people who were directly connected to... who had lost friends or relatives. So unfortunately, that's just the way it is. People only get serious when things fall apart. So better to get serious now. Like that, we don't have to wait. Because it's going to happen anyway, so you're better off just preempting it. That's a very, very good question. Any other points?
I wanted to ask about the 12 forms of Krishna, of Matsya Purnavana.
Which 12?
Matsya Purnavana.
Das, 10.
Das.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Das
Right.
Avatar.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So is that like a metaphor for something else, like something like evolution?
It is and yeah, it is. It is and it isn't. The problem these days is that people take all the ancient teachings, they take the Bible and they take the Vedic scriptures, they take everything practically. They take everything allegorically these days. Not everything is allegory. Some things are just fact. Like in our understanding, Krishna, God himself, came to earth, appeared in Vrindavan, which is just outside of Delhi, and spoke the Bhagavad-Gita on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is about 3 hours north of Delhi, a place called Kurukshetra. So these places are not allegory, they actually exist, and Krishna was real, and it all happened. However, these days, many commentators, if you read the Bhagavad-Gita, they say, oh no, it's not that this, the battlefield represented one thing, and Krishna represented another thing, and the chariot represented something, so then it becomes all allegorical. So you can take things allegorically, but you also have to take it literally, and you have to understand which is which. Now, how do you understand which is which? You need a guru. You need a teacher, someone who can tell you which is which part is allegory and which part is factual. So we're fortunate because we had Prabhupada, the founder of our movement, and his followers have become gurus, and then they're teaching us in parampara, disciplic succession, so we know which is which. So the Das avatars, they are incarnations of God who have come through the millions of years, through the yugas, through the ages, and they appear to enlighten us. They are also allegorical. Not that they are allegorical, but you can take allegory or you can take meaning from there. There is an involvement from the tortoise to the fish, tortoise. Nrsimha is half man, half lion, dwarf, like that. So it goes. There is an involvement in consciousness. So what that represents is that if you misuse yourself as a human, now we're in the human form, but as a human, if you don't take advantage of spirituality and you regress in consciousness and you take birth as a lower form, you have to come back through all those lower forms to get back to being a human. So that's the symbolism. But literally, it doesn't mean that there wasn't these incarnations. Krishna appeared as a tortoise one time when the Mandira hill was being churned by the Suras and the Asuras. That's, it's on another part of the universe at another time. Like these things actually took place, but simultaneously, we can understand there's certain lessons to be learned from all of those things. So you need someone who knows.
So according to this particular philosophy, you can reincarnate backwards, in a sense, into a lower life form.
Yeah, of course. Of course. If you're a good person, what are you going to become? You evolve in consciousness. But if you're a bad... So some human beings are not very good. So you think they're going to get the same destination as the good people.
But aren't there always mitigating circumstances? Good and bad it can be quite subjective as well. There's so many other factors that come into play as to why someone does something.
Yeah, but it means that you have to choose how you act. The choices are now, like I can choose to be a good person or be a bad. That's my. Some people say, well, they couldn't help themselves because of their circumstances. They turned out this way. yeah, there's a certain, all of us go through things in life, but we choose how we have a choice how we react to the circumstances also. Some people say, well, I became a bad person because of this. Just like I heard a story, and there was two brothers, and the father was not very good, which is common these days. It happens, right? So then the father was a drunkard and so many things. So then the two brothers, the two sons, one of them became, like the father, became a drunkard and everything. The other one became a good citizen. I mean, both are good, but one made bad decisions, one made good decisions. And then they asked both of them later. They said, "Why did you become like that?" And the one who was a drunkard, then followed his father's path. He said, "What choice do they have? Look at my father." Right? And then they asked the other one whose life turned out in the right way. And then they said, "Why did you turn out there?" He said, "What choice do they have? Look at my father." So it's just same circumstances. You just make the choice where you want to go.
Okay, so in a family somebody had a really good father, and it turned out like, the son who made the good choice. I mean, they're going to be judged the same way because they're completely different circumstances to begin with. And then mental work will be totally different.
But the point is that we have to decide how you have to visualize the kind of person you want to be, and you have to become that person. And how you choose to react to any circumstance, that's within your control. We all get treated badly in the world. Like, I get treated badly sometimes by people like that. But I attempt to react in a positive way. Okay, this person's obviously got a problem, right? And I'm not going to respond or react. Even like at our farm, it was last week, we had someone who went a bit funny. He was like a guest here, came to stay for a period of time, but he went a bit funny. I'm not going to give all the details, but... So I had to ring the police, right, because he wasn't acting and behaving. So, and he was becoming a little aggressive and like this. So I could have responded in that way. We had three of us here, we could have all got aggressive, like, oh, because he was getting aggressive. We could have responded. No, I just stood back, said, listen, if you're not going to behave properly, I'll just call the authorities, they'll come and deal with you. It's your choice. I'll give you two choices right now. I gave him two choices. I said, I can drive you to the train station now, and you can get on the train, you can go peacefully, or I can ask the police to do the same thing. What's your choice? And he was carrying on, so I said, okay, you chose B, so that's the way. So that was within my control. I can't control how he acts, I can control how I respond. Right. So, each one of us is dealt with certain circumstances in life, but we have to choose how we're going to respond to those circumstances. I know in my own life, because we all know many people, I know some people have been through terrible things, and they're very good, loving, giving people. Because what they realised through all that was that I should not follow that path. And I know other people have been through terrible things, and they've also become terrible. Because they think, oh, all this happened to me, and now I'll be like that towards everyone else. But then they're not learning the lesson. So free will is within all of each one of us has free will, and we have to act according to that. No one's forcing you to do anything. Circumstances are circumstances. And the world's a difficult place, but you have to respond in the right way. Does that give clarity to what you're...
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. That's good. Any other question or comment from our enlightened audience?
I think just one thing.
Yeah.
So we normally say, if you have an issue or anxiety or whatever, just keep it to the God, or just basically give that from your head, just go down to God. But I find it really sometimes very difficult, basically. Even if you spiritualize or just go there, take a name of 1 hour a day or whatever you want to do, but in the back of your mind, there is a thing it does not go out, basically. So there is some issue keeps on bothering you. How to basically go that path? Just leave it that out of your mind. Because there's an issue, but you are keep on bothered by that and that. So there's anxiety in place. You want to leave it, but you're not able to.
Yeah, so that happens to all of us. Some things, they just bother us for years and years and years and years on end. Like that, and just, get the same thing, we just can't let go of this circumstance or the way someone spoke to me 20 years ago, all these things.
Can be anything.
So many different, and we all have our things which are going on and we just can't let go of it in our mind. This is because of attachment. Because we're attached to certain things in this world. Sometimes it's our ego. We're attached to our ego, so therefore sometimes someone insults us and we become like this. But if we learn humility, Krishna teaches, Lord Chaitanya, Krishna's incarnation in this age, teaches, Trinada pi sunichena, Trura pi sihishnuna, amanina manadena, kirtanayaha, sadahari. Right? So he says, what's the first line? Trinad api sunichena. That means, like grass, how does grass respond when you stand on it? Right? It goes down. So if someone insults us, we can just bow down. We can just be humble like that. You don't hear the grass protesting. You go for a walk. Every time you take a step, you're pushing the grass down. The grass isn't going, hey, who do you think you are? You stand on me? No, he doesn't. He just goes down. Trinad api trinad api sunichena means like a tree is tolerant. Trees are tolerant. You go out there, you take the fruit. He doesn't, hey, stop taking the apples. Hey apple. He doesn't say, hey, stop taking the apple. He doesn't do that. He's tolerant. You can even start cutting him down. He doesn't say, hey, stop. He's tolerant. So we have to learn to be humble, tolerant. Amanena, manadena means that you will give respect to other people, but you don't expect respect for yourself. If you can do that, you can become truly peaceful. If you just follow the four things. If you're tolerant, if you're humble, if you offer respect to others and don't respect it for yourself, your mind doesn't become disturbed. But a lot of the time, because we're disturbed because this person said that and they're treating me like this. And that's one thing, not that. Other things is just straight attachment. I can't stop thinking of this thing because I'm attached to it. So you have to become detached. Otherwise it bothers your mind continuously. Oh, I didn't get that job at work, or I didn't get this car that I wanted, or this or that. All these things, they bother us. And we're wasting so much mental energy thinking about things in the past that we don't have. Lamentation. This means we're not understanding our real spirituality. Krishna says, Brahma Buddha Prasanatma na sochiti na kangshiti. Sochiti and kangshiti means hankering and lamenting. I want that, or I don't have that. Why do we do that? Because we don't understand who we actually are. Brahma Buddha means, Brahman means I am spirit. Brahma Buddha Prasanatma. Prasanatma means I am happy, because I understand my spiritual nature. Then na sochiti, na kangshiti. I don't lament, I don't hanker. If you don't understand this spiritual point, then you will suffer in this material. And you'll always be a victim of your mind. Does that answer? Give clarifications. It's okay. So you have to practice. Yeah. It takes time. Okay. But you have to gradually practice these things. It means you have to read these spiritual books. Like we have the books on the table or in the shop, you have to read these books. People, you're from India? Yeah, so many people I meet from India, they say, I know the Bhagavad-Gita. I know the Bhagavad-Gita. I know. Like that. My grandmother has it on her bookshelf. I know the Bhagavad-Gita. Like that. But people don't read it. So many times when I was traveling through India, people say, you know Bhagavad-Gita? I said, yeah, I know Bhagavad-Gita. I teach Bhagavad-Gita. They say, oh, in Gita it says this and this and that. I said, where does it say that in the Gita? No. Do you actually read the Gita? Do you practice the Gita? If you read these things and practice these things, then you will develop. But if we don't read them, we don't practice, then what can we expect? Too much time on the internet, too much time on the television, too much time in the newspapers. Hare Krishna, what can I do for you? Too much iPhone, too much iPad, too much iMac, too much iRack. Is that okay? Okay. Please come again. Any other question or comment?
Can I ask something?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so a few people have asked we're talking about reducing suffering through spiritual path. I guess in my travels that have been reasonably close in a lot of ways, like I haven't travelled widely, but just travelling in circles around here. And my personal experience is on the spiritual path there seems to be a period of you choose your path that you're going to follow, whether it's Bhakti Yoga or another meditative tradition or whatever spirituality means to you, even in this path. And you take a step and there's hope you're taking the step and you have some understanding of the step you're taking and where it's going, perhaps. But that seems to be followed, this has been my personal experience and those around me, there's a flatline sort of period where a lot of obstacles seem to come and you're keeping on with the practice. I wonder if you could speak a little bit about that, because I see that as a sort of common thread and a lot of people drop things. And of course the tolerance of the tree is important, but I wonder if you could speak something about that.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, it's called anatta nivritti in Sanskrit. Anatta means unwanted things in the heart. Nivritti means to release or to remove. So we have unwanted material things in our heart. Now that can take a long time, it's like a plateau. When you are travelling this path, it's like climbing to the top of the Himalayas. So that's what we're aiming for, the top of the Himalayas. But then you have to go, over the first row of mountains, and when you get there, then you look down and you go, oh my God, that's just the beginning. Then there's like this other mountain range. So you get down, you get over that, and then you look, and then there's another one. So spiritual life, Rupa Goswami, who's one of the great teachers from the past, he says, Utsahan, Nishchayat, Daryat. He says there's three things which are necessary to progress spiritually. The first one is enthusiasm. That's called Utsahan. Utsahan means you have to be into it. If you're not into it, then you don't get anywhere. It's like every day. If we don't get up, we're not enthusiastic, we don't get anywhere. So if you're enthusiastic about spiritual life, then you'll progress. But if you're not, you don't. Nishchayat. Nishchayat means confidence or determination. You have to be confident. You have to be determined, because there's obstacles every step of the way. Like you get up to the top of the mountain, you look down and, oh my God, now I've got to go that far, and then you get to there. It's like you've got to be determined. This is where I'm going. And then Daryat means patient. Patient means, as we said, it's a long, one guru said to me many years ago, he said it's a long path. So I guess he was much older than me. He said it's a long path. It takes years, and sometimes you think, oh, it's so, it's the reality. It takes a long time. You have to develop. So, as we're following these teachings in this path, it will take time to develop. Anatta nivritti means removing the unwanted material habits and desires in the heart. That takes a long time. It can even take lifetimes. But we want to speed the whole thing up. We don't want it to take lifetimes. We want to do it in this lifetime. But that's like a plateau, which it takes a long time. So then, how do you get enthusiastic? How do you get determined? How do you get patient? And how do you remove the anattas? It's all based upon one thing, and that's called satsang. Satsanga means association. According to those who you associate with, you will become like them. So if you find people who are enthusiastic, who are determined, and who are patient, and who are removing the material desires, you will also be able to do that. But if you associate with persons who are not enthusiastic, right, who are not determined, Krishna says in Gita, Bahu Shaka Hyanandascha. Bahu Shaka means many branches. But he says on this path you have to be Ekeha. Ekeha means like one-pointed. I'm going to Krishna. Bahu Shaka means, I can also go to Coles, I can also go to McDonald's, I can also go to reading cinemas, I can also go to Hawaii, I can also go to Cuba. Bahu Shaka means there's so many distractions on the path. You have to stay fixed. So if you want to get there, then you have to associate with those who are Ekeha, Kuru Nandana. Now, in my experience, who's the person who is the most focused, the most fixed? He's sitting over there on the seat, Prabhupada. And he said, because he's not in this world anymore, he hasn't been here for nearly 40 years, but he's in my life every day, profoundly. I don't feel disconnected from him for a moment. He's there all the time. And he said, if you want to know me, read my books. Same thing, we keep coming back to the same points. Read his books, he's there every day. He speaks to me every day because I teach his books, I read his books regularly. And he's there. Like, I open up the book sometime because I'm teaching 10th canto at the moment in Melbourne. And I open up the book sometimes, like, he's speaking to me. And I think, how's this possible? What's going on in my life right at the moment, Prabhupada's addressing it. How is that possible? Because he's there. Like Krishna, he's there. He's spiritually active in our lives. So you associate with him, everything becomes clear. I spend it like this morning. How do I prepare for this, when all these people come? Because I know people are going to come. Or I have to say something meaningful. So how do I prepare? I spent an hour this morning reading Prabhupada's books, right? So I read, I get spiritually nurtured, and then when people come, then I can say something meaningful or significant. So it's by association. So there's Vani and there's Vapu. Vapu means the physical proximity. If you can find someone who's spiritually progressed and is living amongst us, go and be with him or her. Go and be with them. If you can't, then read their books. Prabhupada's the most prolific author in modern history, according to the Guinness Book of World Records. Some years he's been in the records as being the most prolific author in modern history. Maybe even in history. His books are, there's so much to read. And so if you're constantly associating, that changes your consciousness. And it gives you clarity. It keeps me on the path. Otherwise, I go off here and I go off there. But no, I read Prabhupada's books regularly every day, and he says, no, do this. I keep doing it, and it's working. Pretty happy. It's pretty good. Does that give clarity?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Any other question or comment? Is anyone hungry? Okay, no one's hungry, thank you. See you next time, thank you for coming. If anyone's actually hungry, please go to the next room, we'll serve a delightful vegetarian dinner. If you'd like to give a donation today to help us to fund all this, then just leave it in the donation box, they'll be gratefully accepted. And if you want any books about this spiritual knowledge, after you have your meal, you can just go to our shop at the back here. We have many books about spiritual topics. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.